Presentation about introduction about myself. I'm very honored and privileged to be invited this venue. It's not easy to be enter this place without permission. So this is one of my unforgettable memories of my trip to Philippines. This trip invited by BCYF Foundation by Mr. Love. It's my second time to be invited with the BCYF Foundation. It's but overall 6 trip to Philippines. So every time I come here, I have bring back to South Korea really good memories. But I think this is really special, very unforgettable time. Today I would like to discuss with you and by sharing my experience about anti-corruption and good governance, and then also sharing what's happening globally in South Korea through my activities. Also to give more some example about what could be done for leadership with integrity for individual, business and organization and society. You know that I don't know much about army, but army is the organization, because and then also you are the leader of organization. So even though my activities are heavily related with the corporations, to advise corporate policy, and then in terms of corporate social responsibility, I help government and governmental organization to adopt the responsible business conduct and then responsible government conduct. But I would like to explain my presentation for general organization leadership, including army. So as an army experts, you could think of your organization during my presentation. If we go to the first slide, what's integrity? It's we heard a lot, but it's like moral soundness, honesty and freedom. It's from corrupting influence or motive. But integrity could be it's the corruption is a big hurdle to maintain integrity. It's really it's like cancer, and then corruption. I think that you heard about a lot, and then any kinds of organization. It's the hindrance of obstacle to economic and social development, and then in the organization, it really disrupts like soundness of organization integrity. So today I prepared 10 reasons why integrity is important, and then let's go to the first reason why individual integrity is important. Who this person is, famous Pope Francis. It's really grateful to see him often talk about integrity and anti-corruption, right? It's the power makes people almost feel like God. It's really dangerous. Corruption, he admits, it also exists in Vatican. It's like sugar, like poison apple, and if you eat it, and you will get sick and almost killed. And the next slide, it shows that he visited Philippines a few years ago, and you might remember his visit to focus on honesty and integrity and commitment for the common good. So this is everything comes from individual integrity, and then the next slide, the next reason is that usually the young generation. I noticed that the young generation, the ladies, it's very important to them working in ethical organization. So in the case of company, more than 82% said it's okay, even though my salary is low, if the company I work is an ethical company. And then 80% replies that in the survey that the reasons to quit is unethical behaviors of top management, my bosses, and my colleagues. I think it's really okay to great obstacle for any kinds of organization culture, right? And then I think Army is also similar, that to really to pride, it's if you see the colleague or boss corrupt behavior, you're the feeling of betrayal will be really serious. The next reason why important integrity is that the integrity or ethics we learn from kids, like kindergarten. You learn don't lie, don't cheat, right? But as we grow older, we often forget, in reality. So one of GSEP activity is to train integrity and anti-corruption to university students by working with companies, because usually the global company have a high standard of compliance program. So the compliance business integrity cases, we invited compliance managers to the university students who will be the future workforce. So, for example, here, like the Army Academy, if integrity or anti-corruption training is included to the curriculum of academy, the more or the less the corruption, this danger will be getting less and less when they go into the army, the officer experience. The next is that, well, I know this is in a different industry, but in terms of anti-corruption, especially related with corporations, there are many industries that are really vulnerable to corruption. Globally, there's the health industry is regarded as the most corrupt industry, because in a hospital, and then the pharmaceutical companies, and then the actually second industry globally considered as corrupt is construction industry. So in Korea, the Ministry of Land Infrastructure and Transport introduced a new regulation for mandatory ethics training to CEOs of construction company. And then there was a incentive measure that somehow, if companies are in suspension, that not to enter the public procurement, that if they receive training per person, 5 days has been decreased. So it's like help them re-enter the public procurement earlier. It's been the ministry commissioned 6 national construction industry associations to run training programs. So so far in Korea during 2 years, almost 60,000 CEOs received the training. It's me. I'm also one of the business ethics trainer appointed by the ministry. And then it's training is always important, right? And then it's like a future workforce, but also the current workforce. But it's more important that as an organization, top leader, it's better to be present when it comes to training, ethics training. So it's really good for the business association, because this is a newly income business, and then also good for CEO because they became learn about anti-corruption, and also for the overall industry, because that industry is regarded as corrupt. So to revamp tainted image, it's getting better. The next slide, please. And then I introduced this example in the Business 20 policy paper as a good practice. Next is that actually this is a business case for ethics, but as you know, you are the army officer and you know that once the organization or the group that you lead is equipped by the strong sense of integrity, and then the performance will be excelled compared to the other organization, less ethically focused. So business is similar. That there was a study that financial performance also follow the ethical importance emphasis. Next is that this is also related with organization leadership. Not only bribery, but also any kinds of misconduct against integrity principle. You might know that not only moral issue, but also impracticality issue, because when it comes to the extortion, in turn for the benefits, then you might not know that whether that person who is doing extortion will keep promise or not. So, for example, companies, imagine that there is a company in defensive industry. In order to enter the public procurement bid in defensive the procurement, that a certain government official, if they wants to give a demand a bribery, or there is the intermediary, that the party that is asked to give bribe, it's very not only immoral but also impractical, because nobody knows to keep their promise. And there are many kinds of other risks. And then actually the more important reason is that it's when it comes to corrupt practice, against integrity, and it really gives perils of your leadership. See, because in order to do a certain misconduct, then you cannot do it alone. You might need another person or group of doing kind of doing an ethical job. So it's a matter of losing mastership. That as a leader of a certain organization, it's very bad and then harmful for maintaining leadership. Usually, when I work with the companies, one of the reasons is for corporate social responsibility and then anti-corruption and then also integrity is to keep up a global trend. So UN has the Global Compact for all organizations, and then ISO, GRI, and then the SDG. And then if I briefly mention one by one is that this is UN Global Compact is a UN voluntary initiative for companies and also all kinds of association, organization, and then it includes anti-corruption. And then the next slide is that this is ISO standards. It's also for any kinds of association and an organization, not only company. So any kinds of organization, it's very important to keep principles about the human rights, governance, environmental issue, fair operating practice, consumer and labor, and then community environment, and in many areas. And two companies competing in the business market, it's very important to communicate externally about what they have been doing and then what they have achieved. This global reporting initiative is also one of the global standards for reporting. And then the UN Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, is the goal for the world and then for the country and then for a company and then for any kinds of organization. You know that in 2015 it was adopted by the state leaders in UN. So it's a development agenda, and then out of 17 goals, it has also justice and peace goal, and include that rule of law, or the illicit, reducing illicit arms flows, right? And then also the reducing crime, corruption, and then also to improve transparency. So not only companies, but also any kinds of organization has been set these kind of goals for long-term agenda for development. Another reason why anti-corruption is important is that usually business people think that ethics and business are mutually exclusive. Actually, the answer is no. It's the ethical status a company will give that company competitive advantages, right? So, I mean, the ethics, integrity of organization really gives competitive, the capacity and advantage to in any kinds of competition and better. Because you might have experienced that well-disciplined organization or group, you might notice that that group will excel. So I mean, ethics, being ethical and then focusing on integrity, it really gives you more power to excel. For business, there will be more opportunity like FDI. Actually, this ISO is an international organization for standards, and then there are standards as a guidance for compliance system and then also anti-bribery system. So this is not only for a company but also all kinds of organization. And then this compliance management system is the guidance for overall system. And then ISO 37001 is a standard for a certification. So in business, if they are certified, then the company could get competitive advantages in the market to the regulators, and then their stakeholders, and then also supply chain. The next slide is that actually for any kinds of organization, or especially companies, this is simply health check for maintaining the organization integrity. It's really important that top leader keep emphasizing on anti-corruption or integrity, so that the soundness of organization culture can be reinforced and maintained. And then for companies, actually, like board member, the board committee, and audit committee, and the external audit is very important. But since here I'm in the army environment, I would like to say that anti-corruption or reinforcing integrity is really similar with the ordinary leadership as to lead, because I mean, in leadership, two things is really important, like punishment and then rewarding. So, and then that well, that zero tolerance is really always important. Regardless of any case or any position, in applying the same law will keep your leadership safe and then get more powerful. Actually, this collective action, I would like to just emphasize this is really interesting global trends that calling for joint efforts to change the ecosystem. There is a government agency in South Korea called DAPA, Defense Acquisition Program Administration. That's the government arm to purchase sourcing for defense-related products. And then that DAPA has been emphasizing on anti-corruption, working with advanced defense companies for cleaner public procurement. And then actually annually they host an annual conference, and also they provide the training for companies. But to a certain single company, that company CEO knows that, even though my company is ethical, what if another company could give bribe to the DAPA government officer? So that this prisoners dilemma happens in the obscure cases and situation. So actually, the World Bank Institute introduced a concept of collective action. It's kind of making gather group together like-minded player, so that to change the whole environment more cleaner, more sounder, to pursue integrity of organization and society. So like this, you might find that in any ordinary personal or organization life, always minority prone to corruption cause problem. So this group ruins the whole reputation of a certain organization or certain industry. But there is minority prone to anti-corruption, but between the this polarized group, there is minority depending on circumstance. Well, I mean, let's imagine that you are going to the your son's wedding, but you get caught by policemen, right? It will be really important not to be late. But ordinary people might think that, oh, okay, to be goes faster, then I could do some, yeah, then, well, or crossing the streets, it happens, like a small type of, but nobody said to you that you are really corrupt or, yeah, it's important to move the bell curve into the right direction so that integrity becomes more important norms in organization and society. So there is a saying that to go faster, you go alone, and then to go further, you go together. So it's important, being ethical and sometimes lonely, but being together, it gives you more power. And as I told you that about DAPA case in South Korea, I mean, one single company's efforts cannot solve all the problem because it's systematic. So responsible business conduct is needed. At the same time, responsible government conduct is needed. And then also, when it comes to depending on certain industry, corruption mechanism is different. Like whether B2B, business to business, or business to customer, or business to government. DAPA case, like defense industry is, B2G case. So, like a digital technology type of e-procurement, makes procurement environment more transparent. So I would like to say that three change factors is regulation to give strong punishment or strong incentive, and the second is training for future generation and the current workforce, including top management, and then also technology. The collective action usually more effective if the campaign or initiatives has strong punishment and strong incentives. Let me tell you a certain example that it's based on the belief that society, in order to make a more cleaner society, that the government, the company, and civil society or other social arm to consistent society should collaborate together. And then in terms of business environment, in a certain country, that the anti-corruption body and then government willingness to push anti-corruption is important. And then there are many industry associations. So like a South Korean DAPA case, DAPA is working with the Defense Industry Association to help them as a facilitator to gather defense companies to try their best to excel and then explore anti-corruption. And then actually, let me just briefly introduce my organization activities. That the Fair Play Club is kind of in the campaign 3 year to make South Korean business environment more cleaner. It's a 3-year project funded by World Bank and then Siemens Integrity Initiative, German company. that it's a campaign to host a seminar training for anti-corruption. And first year we work with the Ministry of Commerce and then working with the other sector association. The second, we work with the metropolitan government and local chamber of commerce. The third year, the last year, we work with the foreign embassies and then foreign chamber of commerce. So it's like the putting puzzle, like jigsaw puzzle, to make a mosaic picture. So we succeeded to obtain more than 200 fair play pledges. So, I mean, you might not know that in any kinds of association or any kinds of organization, there are foul play or fair play, like a sports game, right? So, a strong punishment for foul play and then the strong incentive for the good fair play will change the organization better. And then this is the pledge ceremony. The former UN Secretary General even attended the ceremony. And then it was introduced in Business 20 policy paper also. The last reasons that integrity is important is that the G7 efforts has been really continuing going on to engage with other G20 construction industry association to make a more bigger business environment more transparent. It's another example that in the maritime industry, 2 days ago until last, with Mr. Yap, I went to Cebu and then to talk about anti-corruption at school and university and also Chamber of Commerce. And then Cebu is kind of really the big ports. And then the maritime industry is also very vulnerable industry. So the government official, government responsibility, government conduct, and the maritime companies, and then facilitating organization have been changed in several countries for better integrity, less incident. So it's good for safety and then integrity of organization if the organization adopts anti-corruption and integrity and good governance. Next. In Philippines also there was collective action integrity initiative headed by the business association, and then it's really meaningful to see many more good